Hello, I'm Alex Eichhoff, and I'm an artist from Kansas City, Missouri. Today, I'm going to show you how I landed my first official mural gig. There are a number of ways to get your first mural gig. You could just be hot fire, painting on canvas, or maybe even just walking around town looking cute, and a business owner might approach you and say, "Hey stud, why don't you come paint my wall, and also here's my money." But if you live in this realm of reality, you might have to go up to a building owner and say, "Hey, I'd like to paint on your wall, and also pay me please." Or you could just go up to a wall and start painting on it. Easy enough, right? In this video, however, I'm going to show you how I got my first official / paid legal gig. I'll talk about how I find a call for artists, I'll show you my design process, and then I'll take you through the steps that it takes to apply for a call. Now, I'm credible to give advice on this because I've successfully landed 3 mural gigs by doing this strategy, which means I'm a fucking pro. So since I began my professional art journey about 18 months ago after I quit my full-time job, I had been attempting strategy number 2, just going up to buildings that I wanted to paint on and asking the owner if I could paint. And I had very little interest and 0 success of committing a client. I had also been looking at calls to artists that I found online. A call to artist is just like it sounds.
Are there any artists out there?
There are websites that serve as database for these, such as Cafe, which posts all kinds of art-related jobs. And I was even doing Google searches for muralists wanted. I'm pretty sure that's how I found the first one that I'm talking about. It looks like this. Once I find a call, I determine if it's something that's worth spending my time on and if it's realistic for an unestablished artist like myself to be selected for. And then I get to work on the design. That process goes a little something like this. At the time of recording this video, I'm actually beginning an application on a real gig in Evansville, Indiana, which is my mom's hometown. And I think it'd be really cool to get this gig because I would basically get to hang out with my family the whole time I was working on it. So anyway, to do a sketch, I use an iPad Pro, the first gen, and the app Procreate. Procreate is super rad, very intuitive, very clean, the best creative app for what I do. I read the description of the type of image that they're looking for, and then I start to do some brainstorming. This usually involves research over the particular area that the wall is in. I like to make it fit in the setting of where the art is gonna be. Start gathering some inspiration, looking at pictures, maybe smoke a little weed, drink some coffee, and just start sketching some thumbnails. The first place I start when sketching is composition. To me, composition is one of the most important parts of visual art. It is something that can really make or break an image. And as I mentioned earlier, I also am taking into consideration the geographical location, the context of that, the social dynamic of the town that the wall is in. I'm thinking about colors in the immediate area. I'm thinking about themes that are going on in my personal life. I'm always trying to integrate my personal story into anything that I'm making, but I also want it to tie into the building itself that it's on. So this one is actually on a bank, and of course I'm using my personal sigil of the oak tree to represent growth and security and potential and togetherness, which is kind of what this particular bank stands for. I drew that first tree and I wasn't super pumped about it, so I started another design. I kind of wanted to take advantage of this corner wall situation and do some forced perspective work, so I switched the design a little bit and went with some more simple acorns and smaller trees and made the space seem a little bit more dynamic and engaging for people walking down the street. And of course I had to put these little cute faces on there, because why not? Okay, wait, what? What is this? A second wall? That's right, this mural call has 2 walls available to design. And you know I'm gonna be hitting both them up. I'm trying to get paid, y'all. I'm trying to get jobs. Let's go. Anyway, this wall is super awkward. Look at all those windows. But they're paying by the square foot, and this is the bigger wall, so let's go for it. As I said before, composition is key, especially on a wall like this. So I knew I was probably gonna focus there on the bottom right side where there's kind of some more open space that I can put a big juicy shape, some animal or such, some sort of critter. So I started looking into what kind of a critter I would draw for Evansville mural. What kind of animals are in Evansville? Well, it's a river city, so maybe some river wildlife. And then I thought of maybe an otter. Are there otters in Evansville? In the Ohio River? Well, there weren't for a long time, but back in the 90s, the conservation efforts in the area brought them back. And I thought that was kind of cool because I was born in the 90s. And apparently otters are great symbols for playfulness, which we know the world could use some of that right now. Some charisma, some playfulness, some charm. And also mysterious feminine power, which I thought was perfect for my personal life because when I think of Evansville, I think about my mama. My mama was powerful, and my mama's mama, who lived in Evansville and who I visited all through my childhood, super powerful woman. So of course the otter seemed like a good fit for this. Otters are also supposed to be symbols of connection to the afterlife because they're seen on the surface of water and then submerging below. It's kind of like an eclipse or a transition point from element to element. Anyway, I think this is fitting because my Nana died a handful of years ago, and maybe as I'm painting a mural in her town, I will get to experience her presence and be connected to that other side. But we'll see. I gotta get the job first. I'm really hoping that this one works out. I'll take both walls, I'll take either, but if I had my way, I would hope that I would get to paint these big otters because it means so much to me personally. Okay, that is about it for the design phase. And speaking of phase, look at my face. It's different from before. The fuck's up with that? Anyway, before we go into step 3 of the process, I do want to give a disclaimer. I do spend quite a bit of time on these drawings, and I can't really recommend to you that you do the same because this is all prospective work. So all those hours that went into these drawings and the writing of the proposal and all the research I did is all just potential money. There's no guarantee I'm gonna get reimbursed for that time. So it's a gamble. To me, this is still worth trying because if there's already a gig set up and a building owner already wants art on their wall, I don't have to convince them of that. I just have to convince them to pick me. So this is easier than just doing cold calls or asking random building owners to paint on their walls. Okay, now that you know that, moving on to the final stage, I think we're ready to submit. Here are the final images. This is the first wall. And this is the second wall. I think they look pretty damn good. And you know what? Honestly, if they don't pick me, they're wrong. Art's not subjective. I'm the best. Just kidding. Submission process goes like this. They're gonna ask for all kinds of things, such as your contact info, obviously. They're gonna want a statement of proposal, which is gonna be basically your concept for the art, kind of a timeline, materials to be used, how you plan to execute it, etc. Also a resume or a CV, they're gonna want that. Talk about all the shit you've done. Speaking of shit you've done, they're gonna wanna see your past works. Anything that you can use to show off your skills, particularly murals. But if this is your first time, that doesn't apply to you. This is the hardest part, because anytime there's gonna be a mural call, they're gonna wanna see your other murals. If you haven't painted a mural, you can't really show them one. So just show them your best canvas work and see what happens. Once you get the first one, it gets easier from there. So just keep on pushing through until you do. In fact, the first gig is probably the best time to put it all on the line, put your eggs in one basket, work your ass off on the design, make it look super nice. You might just have to do that. I don't know. Anyway, you're gonna need to give a proposed budget, which if you've done this before, you might be able to just have a formula based on square footage. You know how much your materials cost and you know how much your time is worth, stuff like that. But if you haven't done this before, then you're probably gonna have to do some research. Get some quotes for any equipment rental that you might need for the project. Look up how much your paint covers and how much it costs and do some math per square footage there. If it's an out-of-town gig, you're gonna have to account for travel expenses, gas, per diem for food every day, lodging. Don't forget, sometimes they require insurance. This one in particular does, but luckily I'm still covered by the last gig that I had to get insurance for, so that's nice. And I would recommend probably just padding most of these costs, just rounding up to the nearest $100 or whatever, just to make sure that you don't eat into your profits in case an unexpected incidental arises during the process. The client's probably not going to pay for that. Okay, I think that's everything for the application, so we're ready to submit. After that, all you have to do is desperately refresh your inbox in your email and look for a reply. Okay, that's it. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to subscribe,
comment, follow me on Instagram, like,
send me a message.
do whatever. I hope you get all of the walls. Well, not all of the walls. I'm gonna need some too. In fact, forget everything I just said and you should become a baker. All right, thanks.